Part 19. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 181. The next moment, his hair was densely covered with countless strange runes. A trace of resentment spread from the girl's body and poured into the black hair. One more thing, the knife is almost ready. We can start the master plan. Under the silver moonlight, there was a handsome face, and the mysterious Xuanhuan came here. At this time, the aura all over his body had increased a lot, and it seemed that he had made a huge breakthrough during this period of time. The source of spirituality is such a good thing. It actually allowed me to reach the second level of the immortal path so quickly. I really hope to encounter such a good thing again, but as long as the plan is 10%. The people chosen by these spiritual sources will eventually be exposed, and there will still be a chance when the time comes. A sinister smile appeared on Xuanhuan's face, making people shudder. A conspiracy seems to be spreading in Honglian City. Woo. Police sirens sounded from afar, and Xuanhuan turned and walked into the darkness. Ding dong ding dong. The ringtone of the cell phone kept ringing, forcing Lin Yi, who had just fallen asleep, to sit up. Looking at the notes on the phone, Huang Yiming. What's the matter? Huang Yiming said, Mr. Lin, something happened. What's going on? Zhang Tianlin died, and at the same time, another girl jumped off the building. Lin Yi was stunned when he heard this, and couldn't help but think of the Zhang Tianlin he saw today, an absolute master of immortality, who died like this. Why did Zhang Tianlin die? Huang Yiming's voice was heavy. She died in Lan Kuaifang, and her body was just discovered. Lan Kuaifang? Where are the problems? Aren't they completely solved? It's incredible. A girl jumped off a building again? Have you caught that Zhao Yuan? Huang Yiming whispered, we have investigated through the surveillance system and also searched the residence recorded in the file. The building is already empty. Where is the place where the girl jumped from the building? I want to see the scene. The crime occurred at Shida Building, number 44 North and South Street. Lin Yi nodded, okay, I'll go over right away, and you let them protect the scene. Okay, I will arrange it. Lin Yi frowned, feeling something was wrong. It seemed that Red Lotus City was shrouded in an undercurrent, but he couldn't figure it out. It's really troublesome. Thinking of this, he looked at the time and said, is it 30 yet? I wonder if there will be a strange being from another world coming at 12 o'clock tonight. It's better to leave the picture album in the store. Arriving at the lobby, Lin Yi looked at the absinthe and said, look at the store. If there are strange beings coming, combine with other summons to kill them all. Absinthe looked at Lin Yi, are you going out again? After Lin Yi finished speaking, he opened the door and walked out without stopping. The streets were empty late at night, with no one around. Lin Yi walked under the street lights, feeling the dead silence of the street, and a green light flashed in his eyes from time to time. The world in front of me flashed with gray energy from time to time. The darkness is also filled with all kinds of energy particles full of spirituality. Lin Yi could also see figures of resentful spirits disappearing in some dark corners. However, these resentful spirits have basically not taken shape and are still in a hazy state. This had nothing to do with Lin Yi, and he wouldn't care. He just noticed that there were more and more of these vague resentful spirits. The world has changed for the second time. In just a few days, the number of these vague and resentful spirits has more than doubled. Lin Yi is almost certain that the number of resentful spirits and strange events in the Red Lotus world will increase significantly in the future. Maybe business will get better and better, but it may also get worse. We can consider developing Brandy so that he can work and repay the money faster. This guy is just too timid. I don't know if he can adapt to this kind of life. Lin Yi felt very happy when he thought that he could lead a leisurely life with employees working for him. By the way, Absinthe can also be sent out to deal with ordinary ghost incidents. And I'm working for free. I'm so smart. He seemed to have thought of a very exciting place, and his face was full of smiles. Half an hour later, Lin Yi arrived under the Shida building, where warning banners had been hoisted. There were not many onlookers around, although they knew that a crime had occurred here. But no one wants to go out at night, even if they are nearby. Lin Yi's arrival immediately attracted the attention of those on site. A police officer walked up and stopped Lin Yi. No ordinary civilians are allowed to enter in front. Lin Yi showed an identity certificate from his arms, which said the man in black belonged to him. Seeing this identification, the other party immediately realized, "Mr. Lin, please come this way." Entering the scene, Lin Yi saw a corpse in red. The girl's face was covered in blood and flesh, her eyes were full of despair, and her body looked limp. His hands and feet were broken, and he looked very miserable and desperate. If she were still alive, this girl would definitely be a beautiful girl, but it is a pity that she is dead. Lin Yi frowned when he saw the other person wearing red clothes. Red is very easy to condense resentment, especially at the time of death. A glimmer of green light flashed in his eyes, and he frowned. "Hey, there's no resentment on this corpse? What's going on?" Clearly aware of the problem, Lin Yi immediately observed carefully. Looking around the corpse, searching for any suspicious smell. Soon, a faint yin energy caught his attention. What is this? The breath of the Xuanhuan Sutra? The man appeared here last time. Why? Could these events be related to this mysterious man? Countless images flashed through Lin Yi's mind. He and this mysterious man have had several wonderful causal relationships. The first time, the other party came to his restaurant for dinner. When he left, he felt a kind of malice from the other party, and then used the true destiny to peek at the Xuanhuan Sutra in the other party's body. The second time, on the night of the world change, the other party was looking for the spiritual polymer falling from the sky, and was finally taken by Lin Yi. The other party found him and released a mysterious substance to kill him. The third time, today, the other party actually left traces at the crime scene, which was very coincidental. Lin Yi didn't know that before this, he had seen the other party once on Huaixia Street. There's something wrong with this guy. He can be found everywhere. Could it be that the incident of the girl jumping off the building is also related to this guy? Lin Yi couldn't help but think so. After all, this guy's origin was too strange. From the level alone, the other party is definitely a master above the first level of the human immortal way. The essence in his body is much more than Lin Yi. Lin Yi, who was lost in thought, stood up and walked towards the inside of the World Capitol building. The true Fate Daoji flashed, looking for any traces of problems. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 182. Soon he saw a familiar trace, a red, yellow and black aura entangled with each other. Who is this? The person who took the information behind the rockery. The owner of Gishanju. Thinking of this, Lin Yi stopped. He looked at the location where the aura was left and looked up nearby. The lobby on the first floor of the building is very large, followed by the elevator and the public staircase entrance. At this time, the aura exists at the entrance of the public staircase, just facing a camera. Lin Yi thought about it and took the elevator directly to the top floor, the 22nd floor. After opening it, the elevator hall was in sight, and there were office buildings and companies next to it. Without staying here for long, he walked directly into the public staircase. Soon he came to the entrance of the rooftop on the top floor. Looking at the completely open door, there were some inspectors outside. Obviously they were marking the scene and collecting any suspicious evidence. Lin Yi's appearance immediately attracted their attention, and a police officer came over. Who are you and why are you here? He looked at Lin Yi vigilantly, and his right hand touched his waist, where there was a stun gun, which could be pulled out at any time. Lin Yi smiled slightly. I am the commissioner of the black-clad man, and I am here to check the scene. As he said that, he quickly showed his ID. The police officer looked at the ID and nodded. Sorry, it's my duty, you can check it at will. Lin Yi nodded and looked around carefully. The true destiny solution in his eyes kept flashing, and he soon caught the trace. He came to the place marked by the white line, which seemed to be the place where he jumped from the building. 2 meters behind the jumping location, a strong red, yellow and black aura stayed here. Obviously someone was watching all this here at the time. Interesting, come to the scene in person. At this time, he looked at the police officer in charge of guarding. Can you call up the surveillance here? I want to see it. The police officer looked at Lin Yi in surprise and immediately nodded, yes. A few minutes later, Lin Yi, accompanied by a police officer, came to the laboratory of the World Capitol building. There is a wall with more than 50 surveillance videos here. At this time, the security guards here have already arrived here, and Lin Yi looked at them. Who is responsible for monitoring? A slightly older security guard quickly came over. I'm in charge of the monitoring room. Lin Yi nodded. Bring out the surveillance at the entrance of the rooftop stairs and the air conditioner in the lobby on the first floor. The middle-aged security guard nodded quickly and started to operate. A few minutes later, he pointed to the 2 surveillance videos on the monitoring wall and said, these 2 are the surveillance of the lobby and the top floor. Watch the top floor first, starting from 12 o'clock last night. Under the control of the security guard, the surveillance quickly began to play at double speed. The pictures were almost the same, without any abnormalities. But at 30, there was a problem with the picture. A woman in red staggered to the top floor, opened the door, and walked out. There was no one else around this woman in red. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi's eyes flashed with the true destiny. Under the green light, he immediately began to observe the video in front of him. The human eye can only see what the organs can see, and the camera uses optics to capture the picture. It also means that it can capture many optical pictures that humans cannot see. The true destiny allows Lin Yi to see these unknown optical pictures. A black shadow appeared in Lin Yi's sight, and he followed the woman in red. It disappeared at the entrance of the rooftop, and Lin Yi could not see the shadow clearly. Obviously, his true meaning was only the optical level that the camera could capture. But being sure that someone was following him had already made him guess something. Next, Lin Yi checked the surveillance in the lobby on the first floor again. He also saw the scene of the woman in red entering the building, and a black shadow followed behind her. After the incident, the black shadow left alone from the public staircase. You took the stairs specifically, don't you want to leave any traces? At this time, looking at the police officer next to me, I want to see the road surveillance camera at the place where the building fell. The police officer said, then we have to go to the Ministry of Transportation to investigate the surveillance. Okay, you can send someone to go with me. The black-clothed man's external specialist has a high status, and the police officers on the scene will almost cooperate, obviously receiving orders. Half an hour later, Lin Yi and a police officer came to a tall building outside the Third Ring Road in the east of the city. This is where the Ministry of Transport stores countless surveillance data, and there are huge supercomputers here to process this data. 10 minutes later, Lin Yi entered a room with countless screens. According to his request, a video was played. In the video, the time was around 30. There are 2 road surveillance cameras in front of the World Capitol building, one on the left and one on the right. A red shadow suddenly fell from the sky above the World Capitol building. The video can only see the range of 5 meters above the ground of the World Capitol building. Lin Yi opened the True Destiny solution and captured all the subtle expressions of the woman in the picture. The woman's pupils were dilated, and her face was full of fear and confusion, as if she had no idea what was going on. Lin Yi could immediately determine that this person was probably not voluntary. Combined with the other party's performance when walking up the stairs, it seems that he was controlled to jump off the building. It can be confirmed that it was murder, and an unknown force intervened. The owner of Xuanhuan is at least 70% suspicious. At this time, in the picture, the woman in red fell to her death without any struggle. Zhenming Daija captured the unknown optical picture, and soon he saw a change. A shadow appeared next to the body of the woman in red, and the shadow bent down and seemed to take something from the woman. Because of the video pixel problem, Lin Yi could not see clearly what the other party took away. The clarity was only this level. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. It turns out to be the person who practiced the Xuanhuan Sutra, or his fellow disciples. With a guess in his heart, Lin Yi felt that there seemed to be something behind all this. But the fog was heavy, and he couldn't see clearly what was going on. Forget it, don't think about it, anyway, I am only responsible for solving the case of the girl's suicide. Thinking of this, he directly called Huang Yiming. Hello, Huang Yiming, I have investigated the situation tonight. It is basically certain that this case is related to the owner of Xuanhuan. Even if it is not him, it is definitely related to the people around him. You can issue a wanted order. Notify me immediately after finding the person. The person on the other end of the phone should not be an ordinary person. Huang Yiming nodded quickly when he heard this. Okay, I will issue a wanted order immediately and notify you as soon as I have news. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 183. By the way, Zhang Tianlin is dead now. Mr. Lin, are you interested in taking over her mission? Lin Yi thought for a moment. Her case directly caused her death, which means that the danger of this mission is beyond imagination. 3 Lingyuan pills in a bottle are definitely not enough. Unless you can come up with something that makes me excited, I won't take this mission. Huang Yiming frowned when he heard this, and then said, okay, I'll report to the higher UPS. Lin Yi hung up the phone, thought of Zhang Tianlin, and shook his head. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. I just saw him this morning, and he died in the evening. This change is too fast, and it can be foreseen that the danger in the hands of the other party is absolutely extraordinary. It can't even let a master of the human immortal way escape, which shows how dangerous it is. Although Lin Yi loves money, he also cherishes his life and will not take risks casually. But it happened in Lan Kuaifang. Did something happen there again? In the north of the city, 5 strange and weird figures appeared in the dark. They were chewing something in 5 slum rooms. Blood filled the room, and the smell of blood filled the entire space. There were more than a dozen highly rotten corpses piled up in the room, which was obviously the result of their work in the past few days. People disappear in the slums every day, and dozens of people will not even cause a ripple. There are more than 300,000 poor people here, and no one cares about their life or death. The empire is also a world of capital, full of the cruelty of the law of the jungle. These 5 twisted corpses are becoming more and more like humans, with pale skin, no longer rotting, and their bodies gradually turning into human shapes. They are all corpses sealed in cement in the dark river, and the original corpses have long been in tatters. Although they climbed out of the dark river and cement under the influence of the weird power and gained strength, their bodies did not change. After a few days of flesh and blood, they began to become more like humans. There was coldness in his eyes, without human wisdom, but full of a mechanical instinct-like pattern. Every move became like a human. Their faces began to wear strange smiles, and strange black air permeated around them, entangled them, and a piece of black clothes was worn on them. A very strange change, 5 figures wearing uniforms, like funeral personnel. No communication, no sound. They slowly walked out of the slum and disappeared into the night. Lin Yi left the data storage building of the Transportation Bureau and returned to the Wanchaiwu. Looking at the time, it was already 3 o'clock in the morning. Tonight, the Wanchaiwu was very peaceful, nothing happened, and no alien beings came. Lin Yi, who had worked hard all day, looked at the time. It is likely that I can't sleep well, so I'd better practice. Turning over to bed, Lin Yi began to practice Yuling Sutra and Mighty Vajra method. The essence and spiritual waves slowly circulated in his body, making him fall into a deep state of meditation. In the red door of the Wanchaiwu, a yellow parchment gently fell to the ground. There were unknown words written on it, and there were some blood stains on the parchment. An illusory figure appeared here, and the strange child took the parchment in his hand with an indifferent look. He slowly floated towards Lin Yi and gently stuffed the parchment under the bedroom door. At the same time, he passed through the door, picked up the parchment from the ground, and put it in front of Lin Yi's desk in a few steps. After doing everything, he quietly disappeared in the bedroom. Lin Yi did not wake up. He was immersed in cultivation. Only danger would alarm him. Time passed in a blink of an eye and it was the next day. With the crowing of the rooster, Lin Yi woke up. He stretched his body. A night of hard practice restored him to his peak state. His eyes swept across the desk next to him, frowned, and a yellow parchment appeared in his sight. A message came from the strange child, and Lin Yi immediately knew what had happened. Is it the gate formed by the power of the wish shrine? Parchment from an unknown land. I don't know what's written on it. Lin Yi stood up and walked over, stretched out his hand and picked up the parchment, which had unknown words on it. At this time, the wish shrine in the lobby emitted a mysterious and strange power. The information on the parchment was directly reflected in Lin Yi's mind. Hey, there is also a translation function. As the information flowed in, Lin Yi already knew what was going on. God, please save me. I really can't hold on anymore, it's so painful, I'm willing to give everything I have. Pray for your mercy and let me be free from this eternal pain. I sincerely regret all the sins I have committed in the past. God, please forgive me and save me. The bloody words on the parchment were obviously written in blood by this person. Lin Yi thought for a moment, a sinner? A letter asking God for help. Strange, looking at the writer, it seems that he is sure of the existence of God, so he prays. Or, is there a being who can be called God in the place where this writer is located? Save him. He seems to be imprisoned somewhere, or suffering from some kind of pain. Then should I try to communicate with him in the name of God? Thinking of this, Lin Yi thought for a while, give away everything you have. A free laborer, a new clerk, seems not bad. You can give it a try, but you have to figure out the situation on the other side first. Lin Yi took out a pen and began to write a few words on this parchment. I'm not a god, but I can make a deal with you and let you go. But the premise is that you can pay me something and tell me what happened to you. After writing, Lin Yi put down the pen. He said to the strange child who had appeared next to him at some point, "Throw it into the red gate at night." The strange child nodded. He had a certain amount of wisdom, but he couldn't speak. Lin Yi got up and went to the hall. The fragrant breakfast was ready. Brandy and Absinthe obviously got up early today and prepared everything. While enjoying each meal, the news began to broadcast. At 5 a.m. today, a large number of bodies were found near the Blue River slum. These bodies were highly decomposed and piled up in a bungalow. Gnawing marks were found on the bodies. The police have now blocked the scene and experts are conducting an on-site investigation. This newspaper will continue to follow up. At 30 a.m. today, a girl jumped from the building in the World Capitol building. Similar to the jumping case a few days ago, the authorities are investigating. It seems that this case is not a suicide case as initially inferred. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 184. Then there are the things that happened in various regions of the Red Lotus realm. Hearing this, Lin Yi shook his head. It's getting more and more chaotic. It seems that the entire Red Lotus realm is becoming more and more unstable now. It seems that we need to stock up some food. As he said that, he looked at Brandy and said, "Brandy, we won't open the store today. You and Absinthe go to the supermarket to collect the reserve food. Put all the reserve food in the basement, and the food that can be stored for a long time." Brandy was stunned when he heard this. "Manager, how much do you want to buy? And why?" Looking at Brandy with a face full of question marks, Lin Yi said, "Didn't you watch the news? The situation is a little unclear now. With food in hand, we are not panicked. If we store food for 3 years, even if there is a problem, we can bear it, right?" "Okay, manager." Brandy's face was a little solemn. When he thought about it, it was indeed quite chaotic recently. Absinthe was excited. "It seems that this place is going to be in chaos. I wonder how many people will die." "That's great. There will be more delicious food." He seemed to have thought of something, and stars appeared in his eyes. Looking at the weird Absinthe, Brandy shuddered. Every expression of this guy made Brandy feel scared. But there was no way. He could only bite the bullet and work with the manager every day. Fortunately, Absinthe listened to him, which made him barely accept it. Ding dong ding dong. Lin Yi looked at Huang Yiming's call and raised his eyebrows. "Is there any news?" "Mr. Lin, we have caught Zhao Yuan, the owner of Guishanju. He bought a ticket to the northern province, but we found out and intercepted him directly at the airport." "You intercepted him directly? He should not be an ordinary person." Huang Yiming said in a low voice, "Li Changhe and I went there together, and there was a fully armed team. So he didn't resist." Lin Yi suddenly realized that even he couldn't face the fully armed team. He couldn't hide under the gunfire. At least not now. As for whether the peak of the human immortal can withstand bullets, according to the research report from the man in black, it is obviously not possible. At least the human immortal body cannot resist weapons above the level of machine guns. The existence of the human immortal level is not only powerful in close combat, but also in that they can already perform Taoism. This kind of Taoism often has the ability to kill people invisibly, and once mastered, it can even make people die unclearly. The 6 seals used by Lin Yi are actually a kind of alternative Taoism, which is specially used in conjunction with the great power Vajra seal. He knew this from the research report provided by the man in black. There are various more mysterious Taoism in this world, and these Taoism have unimaginable power. At least there are very few people who master this kind of Taoism, although Zhao Yuan is suspected of mastering some mysterious power. But in the face of the fully armed team, he did not resist in the end. "Okay, it's good to catch the person. I'll come and see right away." Hang up the phone. Half an hour later, Lin Yi came to the Hell Bar on Lotus Street. Zhao Yuan was detained here, and the people of the Blood Department personally guarded him. After all, the other party was suspected of mastering power. Once there is resistance, ordinary police stations may suffer heavy casualties. In a secret room, Zhao Yuan sat quietly on a chair. In a special one-way mirror wall room, Lin Yi came here, and Huang Yiming was also here. Looking at Lin Yi who came, he smiled slightly. "Mr. Lin, you are here. This is Zhao Yuan." Lin Yi nodded, and looked through the one-way mirror and saw Zhao Yuan in the room. It was exactly the same as the last time he saw him, without any changes. The light of the true destiny in his eyes flashed, staring straight at Zhao Yuan, and then he found some problems. In his eyes, Zhao Yuan was pure black, and a black power filled his body. Even his flesh and bones were densely filled with this black power. There was no trace of life in his body, and he felt a kind of creepy feeling. He is dead? But why is he moving? And he looks no different from ordinary people. The life-extending sacrifice seems to allow the dead to move like living people. Countless thoughts flashed through Lin Yi's mind, but there was one thing that was certain. There was something wrong with this Xuanhuan. There was black power in his body, and he was surrounded by the smell of yellow and red incense candles. It's him. He has all the traces of breath I observed at the scene. And according to the archive records you provided, he also fits the movement order of the time and place of the murder. But at this time Huang Yiming shook his head and said, it may not be that simple. We investigated several cases that occurred in Honglian City and found conflicts in time. 2 of the cases occurred at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the man was in his own store. There is a surveillance camera room on the side of the road, so there is absolutely no mistake in this matter. Lin Yi frowned. Alibi. Show me those surveillance cameras. Huang Yiming nodded. Please wait, I'll get them. Lin Yi looked at Xuanhuan sitting quietly in the secret room, thinking, this guy is definitely related to the death of those girls. Green light flashed in his eyes. Lin Yi captured all the black power in the opponent's body. He found that there seemed to be 80 strands of these black powers, and they filled this man's body. The source of his power was all rooted in his spine. His spine was covered with various strange black lines, which together seemed to be a dragon pattern. 80 black energy. It seems that all the women who have committed suicide by jumping off the building so far are exactly 80. Is this what sacrifice to extend life means? Use the lives of these girls to offer sacrifices to prolong the life of Xuanhuan. Lin Yi figured out the whole incident in one go. This guy must have done it. He used the method of sacrifice to extend life to extend his life. But it's strange. He has an alibi in the case in Red Lotus City. How did he do it? According to the crime process that I watched today, someone needs to control these female victims to commit suicide by jumping off the building to do this kind of thing. He was not at the scene and basically had no control over these victims. Or is there an accomplice? The power has a delay function. Can the victim be controlled to die at a specified time? Countless questions flashed through my mind when Huang Yiming walked in from outside. He brought a tablet, opened a folder, and selected a video to open. A video appeared in Lin Yi's eyes. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 185. The video still shows a beautiful girl, but she is wearing a dress, falling from a tall building, and falling to the ground in a bloody mess. This video has been edited, and after the jumping scene, there is a scene of the girl entering the building. Lin Yi captured the shadow through the optical level, and he frowned. There is indeed someone at the scene. At this time, the picture turned again, and Xuanhuan's figure appeared in the road surveillance picture outside Gishanju. He was busy in the store, greeting customers. Each of these video clips has its own time written on it. All happened in the same period, and it can be confirmed that Xuanhuan was not at the scene at that time. However, Huang Yiming can be sure that Xuanhuan must have an accomplice, who may be a human or not. At this time, he thought of the strange Buddha statue enshrined in his shop, and some mysterious existence in it. Turning his head to look at Huang Yiming. This matter can be attributed to the level of extraordinary power, so I suggest you don't go through the ordinary trial procedures. This must have been done by him, or by someone related to him. According to my observation, this guy is no longer alive, and there is no trace of life in his body. Hearing Lin Yi say this, Huang Yiming was shocked. Not a living person? How is it possible? He has undergone a physical examination, and all his body indexes are within the normal range. Lin Yi smiled. Since he is a being with extraordinary power, he naturally has a way to conceal the test of modern machines, right? He may have an accomplice in this matter, but I don't know if this accomplice is a human. I need you to carefully investigate all the information about this person. For example, relatives, or something. Okay, please wait, I will ask someone to summarize the investigation data immediately. Lin Yi sat on a chair in the room, took out his mobile phone in his hand, and sent a message to Absinthe. What is the process of launching life extension sacrifice? Absinthe was watching the store with Brandy at this time. When he received the message from Lin Yi, he stopped working and took a look. Brandy saw its action immediately. Absinthe, you are not allowed to be lazy. Brandy is very serious about his work and has strict requirements for Absinthe. After confirming that he can order Absinthe, his fear of Absinthe began to adapt and decrease slowly. After hearing the order from Brandy, Absinthe looked at him strangely. This is a message from the boss. Are you sure you want me to stop? Looking at Absinthe's strange face, Brandy paused and said, the boss's words are an exception. Thinking that if he stopped Absinthe, the store manager would come back and scold him. He didn't dare to stop Absinthe anymore, so he could only lower his head and do his own thing. At this time, Absinthe looked at Brandy's defeat, and a trace of joy appeared on his face. Reluctance is really a sweet negative emotion. Looking down at the phone, there was a question from Lin Yi. The life-extending sacrifice, according to the records I have seen, is something that only dying people will use. And it can only be performed by people who are connected by blood, which means they need helpers. After receiving the information from Absinthe, Lin Yi was thoughtful. Blood relatives? That is, parents, brothers and sisters. At this time, Huang Yiming frowned again, and a stack of information with a big seal appeared in his hand. He handed the information to Lin Yi. According to our systematic investigation, all the information about this person is here. Lin Yi took the information, flipped through it page by page, and soon frowned. Single-parent family, grew up with his mother, an only child. At the age of 30, he got a serious illness, gastric cancer, a disease that is now fatal. But in the medical records, this person only went to the hospital a few times, and as the gastric cancer entered the late stage, he never went again. Then he began to move to more than a dozen cities, and these cities also began to see cases of girls jumping off buildings to commit suicide. After combining these countless information, Lin Yi basically sorted out the whole thing. He looked at Huang Yiming. The matter is almost clear. This Zhao Yuan should have died 10 years ago. But his mother Zhao got the secret method of prolonging life from somewhere, prolonging life sacrifice. In order to prolong her son's life, she has been completing this secret ritual by causing young girls to commit suicide over the past 10 years. So the real murderer should be Zhao Yuan's mother Zhao Kuihua. Zhao Yuan took his mother's surname. After listening to Lin Yi's analysis of the whole incident, Huang Yiming's face changed. Prolonging life sacrifice. This is really amazing. Is there such a thing? There should be, otherwise, can a person with advanced gastric cancer live for 10 years? And it was 10 years ago, when the world had not yet started to change. Martial arts practice did not appear, and it is not easy to cure terminal illnesses. Huang Yiming's face suddenly froze when he heard this. 10 years ago. Why did such a mysterious spell appear 10 years ago? Speaking of this, he immediately thought of the incident of Lan Kuai-Fong Red Lotus Moruo. That was 100 years ago. There was also a mysterious spell. Seeing Huang Yiming's expression, Lin Yi smiled slightly. It seems you have thought of it too. It seems that there is a certain force that has been mastering the extraordinary power of cultivation for many years. But they have never revealed their whereabouts, so maybe they will find something this time. But this matter has nothing to do with me. I am only responsible for solving the jumping incident. Now the cause and effect of the matter are clear, so is my mission completed. Looking at Lin Yi's face, Huang Yiming smiled bitterly. I guess we have to wait until we catch his mother Zhao Kuihua and completely close the case before it is over. Hearing what Huang Yiming said, Lin Yi shook his head. Okay, wait for your news. I have nothing to do with this matter. Then Zhao Kuihua is just a person who has mastered some mysterious magic. I am afraid her cultivation level is not as high as the human immortal path. As long as you find her, you should be able to take her down. Huang Yiming nodded, okay, we will deal with it next. Just when Lin Yi was about to end this mission, the door of the room was suddenly pushed open. Li Changhe walked in with a gloomy face. Oh no, another girl just jumped off the building and died. Lin Yi and Huang Yiming were both stunned. At this time, Lin Yi looked at Zhao Yuan in the one-way glass room. He still had no expression and sat there indifferently. He lowered his head and looked at the table, as if there was a flower there. But in Lin Yi's true destiny interpretation, he saw a hazy black gas appearing from all around. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 186. It flowed into his body like smoke. Lin Yi saw the changes in his body, and the black mist turned into a black force. It seemed to have substance and was wandering in his body, a strange and terrifying feeling as if it had spirituality. Finally, this force penetrated into the spine behind Zhao Yuan. As the 81 black forces took root in the spine, they seemed to have some kind of resonance. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Zhao Yuan's face changed, and then he fell to the ground and twitched all over. Looking at Zhao Yuan, who suddenly changed drastically, Li Changhe and Huang Yiming both changed their faces. Not good, what's going on? Lin Yi frowned, and he looked into Zhao Yuan's body. 81 forces were drilling into his spine like a snake. At this moment, his spine seemed to constantly convey the feeling of pain to Zhao Yuan, making him twist and suffer. Ah, it hurts so much. Ha. In just a few seconds, he seemed to be in so much pain that he couldn't speak. At this time, Li Changhe and Huang Yiming rushed in, and only Li Changhe said, I'll call the emergency number right away, you watch him, and you must not let him die. Lin Yi left the one-way glass observation room and came to the room where Zhao Yuan fell. He looked at all this calmly and stopped Li Changhe, who was about to leave. No need, this is the life extension sacrifice he used to complete. Li Changhe was confused. What is life extension sacrifice? A mysterious method that can prolong life, at the cost of sacrificing other people's lives? Lin Yi explained while looking at Zhao Yuan, who was shaking and twisting all over. In the other person's body, the snow-white spine was dyed black, and 81 black lines covered his spine. From the bottom of the coccyx, it extends all the way to the top of his cervical vertebrae. Those black lines are connected with each other and combined with the spine, as if it is a lifelike black and white real dragon body. The only regret is that this real dragon has no head. It disappears at the place where the spine and the back of the head are connected. At this time, all the black power in Zhao Yuan's body disappeared and merged into his spine. A strong aura of death permeated his body, and his body began to twitch rapidly. After a few seconds, he stopped moving. The light in his eyes disappeared, and his pupils dilated, as if he had died. Seeing that he had lost his life, Lin Yi was slightly stunned. Hey, isn't it to extend life? How did he die? No, the spell in this person's body has been completed, but he died. Li Changhe and Huang Yiming were both stunned, looking at Lin Yi in confusion. Mr. Lin, what's going on? Lin Yi shook his head. I don't know, you go find a forensic doctor to perform an autopsy. We have to see the conclusion of the forensic autopsy to know what's going on. Bailong Building, the scene of the 80th suicide by jumping off a building. An old woman in grey clothes stood in the crowd, looking coldly at the dead on the ground, and turned to leave. Finally, the last person has completed it, and Yuan can be resurrected. My old bones have finally caught up. Cough cough. A strong smell of blood came out of her mouth, and Zhao Kuihua covered her mouth with her hand. After a pause in coughing, she looked down at the bright red blood in her palm, and a hint of gloom appeared in her eyes. There is not much time left, and Yuen'er should have completed the ceremony now. Although Yuen'er was caught, a murder occurred here, and he was not at the scene, so he should be able to clear his identity as a suspect. From now on, you have to think about your own future, and your mother can only accompany you here. The staggering Zhao walked into a dark alley, her face was miserable. Waves of weakness came to her heart one after another, and after completing her wish, he seemed to be unable to hold on any longer. She had lung cancer for 3 years. The doctor originally told her that she would live less than half a year, but she had forced herself to hold on until now just for her son. 2 months ago, she felt that she could not hold on for much longer. That's why they killed people wantonly in Honglian City, just to speed up the progress of the whole ceremony. Now that the last ritual offering was completed, Zhao Kuihua finally couldn't hold on. There was a trance in front of her eyes, and she seemed to see a figure flashing, which seemed to be her son. With a relieved smile on her face, Yuen'er, you have to live well, mother is gone. 2 turbid tears flowed from Zhao Kuihua's eyes, containing countless complex emotions. The injustice of fate, the fear and resentment of the hardship of life, and the love for her children. And a trace of guilt and regret for those she killed. A figure shrouded in a faint shadow appeared here. Looking at Zhao Kuihua, who was sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall and lost her life, a trace of indifference appeared in his eyes. This person was Xin Yueze, holding a hair in his hand, which was covered with strange black patterns. He just collected it from the corpse, relying on the invisible Taoist method that no one could see through. Looking at Zhao Kuihua, who had completed the ceremony, Xin Yueze's eyes showed some emotions. The greatest thing in the world is mother's love, but you probably don't know it. When you complete the whole ceremony, you and your son will go to hell together. No, or should I say, when you will never be reborn. The life-extending sacrifice comes from the unknown. If it is the original, you can really survive. It's a pity that for the sake of the master's plan, you can only sacrifice your mother and son. As Xin Yueze said this, a faint black light filled her hand and she grabbed Zhao Kuihua. A wisp of strange black air flew out of her body and turned into a dark and ferocious dragon head. The dragon head is in hand, and the next is the dragon bone. Feeling the direction of the induction from the dragon head, he turned and disappeared into the alley. Zhao Kuihua's body was soon discovered, and the sound of the ambulance sounded, causing chaos here. Lin Yi and the other 2 who were watching Zhao Yuan walk into death in the room also received new news. What? Dead? Li Changhe was a little unbelievable. Looking at the faces of Lin Yi and Huang Yiming, Zhao Kuihua is dead, near the latest case. Hearing this, Lin Yi and Huang Yiming were really stunned. Looking at Zhao Yuan's body on the ground, he was speechless. Both of the main characters in this case were dead. This is too coincidental. Lin Yi was a little strange. He felt that everything here was too coincidental. You may want to do an autopsy. I feel that things are definitely not that simple. It is best to have a forensic doctor who has knowledge of supernatural powers to do the autopsy. Huang Yiming and Li Changhe nodded. Okay, I will arrange for the autopsy personnel from the Men in Black to come over immediately. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 187. Can I wait on the side? Li Changhe smiled, of course. Huang Yiming and Li Changhe said, the body inspection center of the black-clad men is in a secret base in the west of the city. We have to wait for them to come and collect the bodies before we can go there. Lin Yi nodded, okay, I'm very interested in this matter. Huang Yiming and Li Changhe didn't understand why, but they naturally didn't ask Lin Yi. About 10 minutes later, a black van stopped outside, and several people in white coats walked into the Hell Bar. Under the gaze of Li Changhe, Huang Yiming, and Lin Yi, Zhao Yuan's body was moved onto the van. Lin Yi and Huan Yiming followed, while Li Changhe stayed in the base to deal with other related matters. Huan Yiming looked at his phone and said to Lin Yi, "Mr. Lin, the body of Zhao Yuan's mother Zhao Kuiwai has also been sent to the autopsy base of the Men in Black. We can get the autopsy report at the same time later." Lin Yi nodded, "That's good luck." 20 minutes later, the black van drove into a private hospital in the west of the city. Bike Private Hospital. This place basically receives high-end people, with the best nurses and doctors. The car quickly stopped in the underground parking lot, and Lin Yi and the other two followed the medical staff out of the car. They pushed the mobile bed and entered a gate in the underground parking lot. Under the gate was a downward passage. After walking down about 10 meters, they came to a corridor. On both sides of the corridor were rooms with house numbers. Lin Yi and Huan Yiming, led by the team leader, came to one of the rooms. The doctor said, "Gentlemen, please rest here. The autopsy results will be out in about 3 hours." The two entered the room, which was a living room with central air conditioning, suitable temperature and smooth airflow. 3 sofas, a brown coffee table, nothing else. Soon a female nurse brought 2 cups of tea. "Gentlemen, please." After that, the nurse turned and left the room. Lin Yi and Huan Yiming sat on the sofa, and Huan Yiming said, "Mr. Lin, what do you think of this incident?" "What?" "There seems to be a mysterious force behind the incident in Lan Kuaifang and the incident between Zhao Yuan and his son. What do you think this mysterious force is going to do?" Lin Yi shook his head, "I don't know, but there are a few points that can be confirmed. You should understand from the fate of the protagonists of these 2 incidents that this is definitely not a good thing. I'm afraid there is some kind of conspiracy, but it's hard to say what it is without more information." Huan Yiming took a deep breath and showed a trace of worry on his face. "I hope we are overthinking it. It's getting more and more chaotic now." Lin Yi is so looking at Huan Yiming, he said, "By the way, let me ask you something. The night before yesterday, the sky exploded with light, which seemed to increase the energy activity in the air. What happened? You Men in Black are in direct contact with the Empire, so you should know some news. How about it, tell me?" Hearing Lin Yi's question, Huan Yiming was stunned for a moment, then thought for a while and said, "I have heard some news. According to internal sources, the explosion a few days ago should be the beginning of the second change in the world. I heard a rumor when I was training at the headquarters before. It is said that our world was not like this in the past. In the distant past, there were gods, demons, immortals, and other beings in mythological stories. But I don't know when these myths disappeared. Then there was no more extraordinary power in the world. As for the remaining cultivation paths, they were also excavated from ancient ruins. The highest level can only be cultivated to the first level of the human immortal path. The human immortal path only appears once every few hundred years, and individual force cannot surpass the group. 3 years ago, the first world change, various energies in the air began to become active. The cultivation path revived, and scientists who specialize in energy science came to a conclusion. The energy in the air seems to be activated by something and can be absorbed by the human body. Human cultivation is actually the use of this active energy. The second great change is, it seems that this activity is spreading faster and faster. It is said that there may be a third great change, and the time interval between world changes will become shorter and shorter. In the future, humans will have power beyond imagination. Even one person may be able to compete with the regular army." Hearing this, Lin Yi was shocked. "There is a third world change." Huan Yiming laughed dryly, "I just heard it from others, but no one can say for sure about such things. Mr. Lin, please keep it confidential. It is best not to spread it, otherwise it will cause panic." Lin Yi nodded, "I understand, don't worry, thank you for clearing up the confusion." The two chatted casually, and Lin Yi unexpectedly learned that the Red Lotus realm is now filled with a sense of undercurrent. Especially the mysterious white gloves, this terrifying weird organization, is spreading weirdness in many places within the Red Lotus Empire. This has tied up 90% of the power of the men in black. The Empire even joined forces with the weird organization hospital to barely suppress these things. But at least hundreds of thousands of people died in the Red Lotus Empire because of the White Glove incident. These news were completely blocked. Except for the top leaders of the Empire and some major forces, ordinary people didn't know at all. In recent days, more and more mysterious things have happened in various parts of the Red Lotus Empire. Although most of them have not caused any danger, they also indicate that an inexplicable situation is emerging. All this is a harbinger and result of the second change in the world. The strong men in the Empire are almost 99% restrained, so they will start to use a lot of resources to mobilize external specialists. Lin Yi also felt a little uneasy when he heard this information. His power left the Wanchaiwu and was only a human immortal master at the peak of the spirit pool. Facing this invisible undercurrent, he felt that he seemed unable to resist. It seems that I have to complete the second set of handprints of the Yiling Jing as quickly as possible. I don't know what kind of power it will bring me. Lin Yi is very clear about a truth: you have to have a life to spend money. In this uncertain future, he needs to improve his strength as soon as possible. We need to collect more strange objects and integrate them into the space of the strange magic cube. In the future, I will be more confident when dealing with possible dangers. Time is running out for me. Lin Yi was thinking, and he had almost heard the news that Huan Yiming had revealed to him. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 188. At this time, outside the private hospital, a person shrouded in mysterious shadow appeared at the entrance of the underground parking lot. The person who came was none other than Xuanhuan, and his whole body was shrouded in a faint yin energy. This yin energy emitted inexplicable fluctuations, preventing him from being seen or felt by anyone. The light penetrated him directly, completely hiding the traces. There was a black dragon head floating in his hand, about half the size of a palm, and it was pointing at the entrance of the parking lot. Is Zhao Yuan's body here? Nodding, he entered the entrance to the basement, and soon, under the guidance of the dragon head, he reached the underground level 1. After passing through the empty corridor, we came to an anatomy room at the end. He opened the door gently and entered without making a sound. The entrance is blocked by a transparent plastic curtain, and a strong smell of disinfectant hits your face. 2 mobile hospital beds could be seen behind the curtains, with 2 corpses being dissected lying on them. A young doctor in a white coat seemed to be performing a medical dissection on them. Xuanhuan looked at one of the corpses. It was Zhao Kuiwa. She had been dissected. His eyes passed over Zhao Kuiwa and fell on Zhao Yuan's body next to him. The other party had cut off Zhao Yuan's internal organs one by one and placed them in the vessel next to him. From time to time, I record something in the notebook next to me. Xuanhuan walked over with indifferent eyes, and a seal in his left hand rose up, turning into a black mist. The mist floated out of his hands and quickly pounced on the anatomy doctor from behind. Xuanhuan naturally noticed the energy fluctuations in this man's body, a top-level warrior. But facing Taoism and sneak attacks, the opponent has no resistance. The black mist rushed into the other party's body out of thin air. The next moment, the doctor's whole body froze, and his vision became dim. Then he fell towards the ground, completely losing his ability to control himself. Xuanhuan caught the other person casually without letting him fall to the ground without making any sound. In the monitoring room, the 2 monitoring personnel had already fallen down on their seats, unable to move. Naturally, the footage in the monitoring room did not cause alarm. Gently placing the anatomy doctor on the ground, Xuanhuan came to Zhao Yuan's body. At this time, Zhao Yuan's body had been hollowed out, and Sinuez's eyes were cold. What a poor guy, a sacrifice that will neither die nor live. But if you can make a contribution to the teacher's sect, you will be rewarded. After all, you will have 10 years of free time, tasting the beauty of the mortal world. As he spoke, he formed a seal in his hand, and a stream of yin qi gathered in his hand, turning into a pure black talisman. It was a talisman made entirely of essence. He controlled the talisman to fall towards the spine of Zhao Yuan's body. The talisman paper fell on the spine, and the spine in Zhao Yuan's body began to tremble slowly, like a black dragon turning over. It is leaving this body, as if it is alive. Poof. After several struggles, a dark spine soared from Zhao Yuan's body. It twisted in mid-air, as if celebrating its freedom. At this time, the black dragon head in Sinuez's hand trembled. The black spine seemed to be attracted and quickly rushed towards the dragon head on Sinuez's right hand. Click. There was a mysterious sound, the spine and the dragon head merged into one, and a spine dragon appeared. The shape of the spine itself has not changed, but the black dragon patterns on it are vivid. Make this spine look like a real black dragon. Okay, it's finally done, now comes another one. As Sinueza waved his hand, the spinal dragon fell into his sleeve. He disappeared silently into the underground basement of this private hospital, and no one noticed the whole process. The autopsy room is not a confidential place, and the precautions are very common. Probably no one ever thought that someone would come and steal the body. But it all finally broke out half an hour later. When a nurse on duty came to communicate with the anatomy doctor, she saw the anatomy doctor lying on the ground. A sharp scream was heard, alarming the entire underground level. Lin Yi and Huang Yiming were chatting in the living room. When they heard the scream, they stood up immediately and rushed in the direction of the scream. When they entered the anatomy room, they were all surprised. The anatomy doctor lying on the ground, and the two corpses that had been dissected. Lin Yi looked at the scene with a hint of surprise in his eyes and walked over in a few steps. He stood in front of Zhao Yuan's body and looked inside the body. It was as he expected. He frowned, the spine is missing. Is it that person? Lin Yi immediately thought of the mysterious person who appeared at the scene of the corpse crime. A mysterious man who once visited his shop. Could it be that everything is his handiwork? Zhao Yuan's spine is the result of the life-extending sacrifice. As you can see in the video, he seems to have collected something from those corpses. In addition, he came here specially to obtain this spine. No matter how you look at it, there is a conspiracy. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's brows jumped. But then I thought about it and said, you can tell Huang Yiming about this matter and let them investigate. Huang Yiming also walked over at this time and saw Zhao Yuan's body. The spine inside was missing. What's going on? His spine is missing. Lin Yi glanced at him and smiled slightly. It seems that our guess is correct. There is a conspiracy in this case that we don't know about. Let's go, I have some discoveries and tell you. You can ask this anatomist, but I guess he doesn't know anything. Huang Yiming listened to Lin Yi's words, thought about it, turned around and gave orders to the security personnel who came. In the Hell Bar, in the meeting room, several main personnel of the blood department have arrived. Li Changfang, Huang Yiming, and Li Changhe, and other personnel seem to have left Honglian City and went to Yulan City. Lin Yi looked at the three people and said calmly, this incident is unusual. It involves 10 years ago, and at that time, the power of cultivation had not yet revived. But judging from the whole incident, someone was using magic 10 years ago. This is almost exactly the same as what happened in Lan Kuaifang 100 years ago. The 100 Life Corpse Immortal Formation and this time's Life Extension Sacrifice are both spells of mysterious origin. The 100 Life Corpse Immortal Formation can create a red lotus mora, turning it into a being called a corpse immortal. The purpose of the Life Extension Sacrifice is for the spine in Zhao Yuan's corpse. Both of these things happened in Honglian City. I feel that this is not the end, but the beginning. There is an unknown mysterious existence, a force that has mastered the secrets of cultivation and has set its sights on Honglian City. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 189. This person was at the scene where the girl jumped off the building. I have captured his information. As he spoke, a portrait appeared in Lin Yi's hand. This was the person that Lin Yi had asked Huang Yiming to find a painter to draw based on his description. A handsome and feminine man instantly attracted the attention of Huang Yiming and the other two. This person has been to my store before. I didn't understand why before. At that time, he just felt a sense of malice, so he paid special attention to him. Now it seems that it is probably because I destroyed the 100 Life Corps immortal formation and their arrangement. And a few days after that, when I broke through the human immortal path, I encountered a mysterious danger. There is something that seems to be a vengeful spirit, attacking my spirit when I broke through. Hearing this, Li Chenfang's face suddenly changed slightly. Lin Yi noticed the change of the other party keenly, and said thoughtfully, "Li Changfang, do you know anything? Can you describe to me in detail the phenomenon when being attacked?" Lin Yi thought for a while. There is a thing that looks like a little ghost in ancient mythology. It entered my mind and attacked me, and finally even turned into a sword to kill me. Li Chenfang's face changed rapidly. This is a spell, a mysterious Taoist method in the practice of Taoism. To exert this power, you must obtain something from the person being cast. Depending on the different spells, the things required are also different, maybe hair, maybe breath, maybe a part of the body. Obtaining these items is to locate the coordinates, and then let the spell locate you through this mysterious connection. Then launch the spell at the right time to snipe you. Especially at the critical moment of practice breakthrough, the probability of using a spell to kill the person being cast is the highest. There is no doubt that the other party came to your store for a simple reason, in order to obtain something from you. Hearing Li Chenfang's call, Lin Yi instantly made up for all his missing parts. Everything appeared clearly in his mind. So that's how it is. Then it can be confirmed that this person must be the mastermind behind the whole incident. Li Changhe's heart suddenly moved when he heard this. Zhang Tianlin died in Lan Kuaifang. Could it be that this person was the one who did it? Lin Yi's eyes also lit up. Yes, this person is definitely a combat force above the first level of the human immortal way. If he took action, killing Zhang Tianlin would not be a difficult task. And he was plotted against by a being who was higher than his realm, so the success rate would naturally be higher. Then why did he appear in Lan Kuaifang? Where else could they find what they needed? In an instant, everyone figured out what was going on. Lin Yi's face became serious, and he immediately said, "Everyone, you may need to notify the police. Send a large number of police forces to quickly block Lan Kuaifang and conduct a more thorough search. Maybe the most important thing is there." Li Changhe stood up quickly. "I'll report to the headquarters." Li Chenfang's face was serious. "I'll mobilize the police." Huang Yiming looked at Lin Yi. "Mr. Lin, what should we do next?" Lin Yi thought about it and sighed. "Actually, I think we are too late. Since that person has started to harvest the fruits, I'm afraid that the things they need in Lan Kuaifang have been taken away. If we go there now, we will only come up empty-handed, but we can ask someone to investigate carefully. The most important thing is, we need to analyze what they want to do. This is the most important thing. I think there are masters in the empire, maybe they can guess their real purpose." Huang Yiming was thoughtful. "I understand. Thank you Mr. Lin for your assistance in this mission, otherwise we would not have been able to find such a big problem." Lin Yi shook his head. "I just completed my own mission. Now my mission is over. Huang Yiming nodded. Please wait for a day, Mr. Lin, I will get the prize after reporting the mission to the higher UPS. Lin Yi nodded. Okay, you can send it to my house when you get it. Leaving the Hell Bar, Lin Yi walked towards the Wanchai. When passing Lan Kuai-fong, a radiance of the True Destiny Daija flashed in his eyes. The True Destiny Daija, which was running to the extreme, almost completely saw through Lan Kuai-fong. The spiritual wave was rapidly consumed, and even though his second seal was about to be completed, he felt the insufficiency of the spiritual wave. After taking back the True Destiny Daija, Lin Yi shook his head. The True Fate solution is useful, but it consumes too much spiritual energy. I don't know when the spiritual energy consumption can support me to use the True Fate solution at will. Shaking his head, there was no trace of Lan Kuai-fong, it was empty. Whether it was on the ground or in the Lan Kuai-fong mansion, there was no trace of resentment. It's too clean, as if something sucked the unclean things dry, it's very abnormal. Lin Yi didn't enter it, he was actually quite lazy. He didn't want to care about anything beyond his mission. If it wasn't for this time, the mysterious man had set his sights on his life, he wouldn't have told the blood department about it. In a word, it has nothing to do with him, he is too lazy to pay attention. When he returned to the Wanchai, it was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Absinthe and brandy were cleaning up the various purchased materials piled up in the lobby. Half of the lobby was full. Lin Yi saw the scene when he entered the door, and was surprised. You bought so much. Brandy looked at the surprised Lin Yi and laughed. Today I went to Lanfang supermarket to hang out, and happened to see the doomsday suit for sale. I bought a large batch, enough for the two of us to eat for 3 years, but the price is a bit expensive. It cost about 100 gold coins, about 100,000 yuan. Doomsday suit? What the hell? He looked at Brandy with a suspicious face. Bai Lan smiled mysteriously. Manager, you don't know. The big explosion that night, some people say that the end of the world is coming. So many people are hoarding supplies, this doomsday suit is a balanced supply suit. From food, clothing, and various other supplies. But food accounts for 70% of the supplies. I calculated that it is 10% cheaper than if we buy them separately. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows when he heard it. This is quite cheap, well done. Send them all to the underground maze, and when you're done, give me a dinner, 3 steaks, I've been eating a lot recently. Since entering the human immortal path, Lin Yi's demand for food has increased. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 190. He could feel that it seemed that his body was undergoing some subtle changes. This change would improve his physical fitness. Sitting on the sofa, Lin Yi looked out the French window, and saw pedestrians on both sides of the street. Some of them were smiling, some were worried, or in a hurry. Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of solemnity, everyone seems to be worried. In a hidden courtyard, Xuanhuan appeared here. In his hand appeared a strange long sword about 1.2 meters long. It was pitch black, and the handle and the back of the knife were integrated. It was a black spine that looked like a dragon. The dragon head was the handle of the black long sword, and a tassel made of 81 hairs was tied on the handle. The 81 hairs were covered with strange runes, moving with the wind, and were filled with a strange power connected to the long sword. The blade was like a pool of black water, and a black dragon could be vaguely seen swimming on it, appearing and disappearing from time to time. Looking at this knife, Xuanhuan showed a trace of fear in his eyes. There was a black jade box in front of him, which was covered with mysterious black lines. Xuanhuan casually put the sick knife into the black jade box. He closed the jade box and smiled. That's it? A figure came to the courtyard silently, wearing a white Taoist robe like the bright moon, and exuding a faint temperament. He seemed like a dazzling moon, and no one could take their eyes off him as long as they saw him. Xingyuezi turned his head to look at the person who came, his face slightly solemn, and said respectfully, Xingyuezi of the Kishan evil sect, I meet Senior Tongshenzi of the Nishan Dao section. The dragon-slaying sword is ready, please accept it. Tongshenzi looked at Xingyuezi, his eyebrows jumped slightly, you are worthy of being the seed of this generation. Have you reached the second level of the human immortal Dao, the light transformation? I dare not praise you as a senior, but it's just a small achievement. Tongshenzi nodded, came to the jade box, opened it and took a look. Yes, it is indeed the dragon-slaying blade. It has been planned for 100 years, and today it has finally been completed. I'll take the things away. Say hello to your master for me. Yes, I respectfully send off Senior Tongshenzi. Tongshenzi waved his hand, and the jade box disappeared into his robe. The next moment, a faint pale light permeated his body. He took a step and disappeared into the courtyard like a ghost. Watching Tongshenzi leave, Xingyuezi narrowed his eyes, it's almost time. As long as the plan is completed, it will be time for us to completely return to the top of the world again. The world belongs to us after all. He, Xingyuezi laughed gloomily, and seemed to think of something, with a hint of expectation in his eyes. The mysterious Tongshenzi returned to the Prime Minister's residence. He has a separate refined garden courtyard. The small bridges and flowing water, pavilions and towers, a deep and natural garden style of the Jiangnan water town. After Tongshenzi returned, he walked towards the attic. When he entered the attic, another Tongshenzi appeared. But this Tongshenzi sat on the ground, sitting cross-legged, like a dead person. Tongshenzi waved his hand, and the jade box appeared on the ground next to the sitting Tongshenzi, and he walked towards the sitting Tongshenzi. He took a step forward and overlapped with the sitting Tongshenzi. He slowly sat down and disappeared into the sitting Tongshenzi. The next moment, he opened his eyes and frowned slightly. It seems that the world is not revived enough, and my soul is suppressed greatly. It's only 10 minutes, and it's a bit unbearable. Thinking of this, he sighed slightly and his eyes fell on the jade box next to him. The dragon-slaying sword is in hand, and the next step is to wait. In the Prime Minister's mansion, in Donggong Tao's bedroom, he was practicing the true method from the Nishan Dao sect. He was surrounded by a dark golden glow, making him look like a statue of a god or Buddha. In the spirit pool in his body, a dark golden essence was trembling, and a real dragon made of essence was swimming in his body. An inexplicable breath in the body was constantly attracted by the real dragon essence. Every time the real dragon absorbed a breath from Donggong Tao's body, it became more and more real. At this time, an inexplicable blackness gradually enveloped Donggong Tao. But this power seemed to have no harm to him at all, just quietly enveloped him. Originally, there was infinite golden light in Donggong Tao's body, but it was gradually becoming dimmer. He could feel that his power was constantly increasing, rising to an unknown height. In Honglian City, in the shadows that no one noticed, some things were looming. In a hotel, Yan Menjiao looked through the French window at the outside Honglian world, with a faint solemnity in her eyes. At this time, her eyes were filled with a black flame, which made her see another world. The black of the night was everywhere, and this black contained infinite energy. But these are not what she cares about. What she is paying attention to is the faint and strange power fluctuations in the darkness. They are hidden in the darkness, lurking, waiting for an unknown outbreak. It seems that I have to contact the hospital headquarters. One person can't handle the things here. Thinking of this, she couldn't help showing solemnity and worry in her eyes. Boom! Boom boom! A violent explosion suddenly exploded in the western suburbs of Honglian City, and the red light illuminated the entire sky in an instant. It was a flame that shot straight into the sky, attracting the attention of countless people. Yan Menjiao was also stunned, and she immediately realized where she was. Is that the power grid center of Honglian City? At this time, countless lights in Honglian City went out in an instant, all electrical appliances in the city stopped, and darkness enveloped the place. But soon some high-rise buildings became bright again, and that was when the backup generators started to work. Roars rang out everywhere in Honglian City, and ambulances, fire trucks, and police rushed out from every corner of Honglian City. All rushed to the power hub center in the west of the city. With the power outage, all kinds of networks were naturally cut off. No one knew what happened, but maybe there were too many things happening recently. Many people began to become numb, and few people went out to check the situation, and they just watched at home. Lin Yi stood on the roof of the Wanchaiwu, looking in the direction of the western suburbs. The explosion was still going on, and the roaring flames dyed the entire sky to the west of Honglian City red. Looking at this scene, Lin Yi's eyes showed a hint of surprise. What the hell is this? Such a large-scale explosion? War? Or what kind of explosion? That seems to be the direction of the power plant in Honglian City.